Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Hello, Kim Goldman.
Hello, Jackie
How are
McDougall.
you?
Oh, I'm swell.
So what's going on in your life? Talk to me.
Oh,
so
my
let's
God.
not bury the lead here.
What?
Today on the show,
Oh.
we have Ms. Lauren Makk. Yay!
Woohoo!
She is also known as the homegirl next door.
Love that.
And she was one of the co-hosts on Fab Life with Tyra Banks and Chrissy Teigen and Joe Z and Leah Ashley, who we had on the show. If you did not hear our Leah Ashley show last week, go check it out on iTunes or on our website. Or
so she's going to be the homegirl in the broadcast door.
Yes.
I tried to. That was very poorly executed.
Nice try.
I know.
But yeah, so I'm very excited to have her here because I have mentioned before, but I was actually working at Fab Life the last
Was it
season.
fabulous?
It was
working in
so
television fabulous.
Sure.
Okay. And
of course it is.
Yeah. I mean, is it really like, and we can also ask Lauren this, like, is it really all that it's cracked up to be when you are working in television and, you know, like knowing what goes on behind the scenes? I had a very small stint in television and I kind of.
But don't tell people, like, you always say that I had a little small stint, but like you were working with some big hitters, heavy hitters.
I was very fortunate. I worked on news radio and Politically Incorrect and the Larry Sanders Show and Naked Truth, like Just Shoot Me. Totally.
I love that you said all those things and then you just went Naked Truth, like
Naked Truth. You know what? Naked Truth
was with the woman from, because I worked at NBC at the time and they had it on NBC.
It's Taylor Leone and Holland Taylor.
Oh,
Oh, you were thinking of something else. Holland Taylor is how I got my job at Burlstein Gray. So I'm always very.
I love her.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
And do you know that she is in a hot and heavy relationship with
Sarah Paulson?
I know. Who I also think is an incredible actress. Anyway, sorry to hijack your story.
No, it's okay. Well, I hijacked yours. So but being in television and seeing what all goes on behind the scenes, it kind of lost its, zhuzh for me when I watch it now, because now, and I think I've talked about this on the show before, that I watch television with such a scrutinous eye that, like, my son now does it too, that if we're watching a scene and in one scene the actor or actress has a blue shirt on and then they cut to something else and suddenly, oh my God, continuity drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But
don't you feel a little bit smug when you find something like that? Like,
yes,
you are
but
better
I'm
than other
exhausted
people?
because sometimes I just want to watch and not be paying, but I'm so keen to it because I worked in that field for such a long time that and my son does it too now, and so it's annoying to watch television with us, and we record it back, rewind it back so we can prove to the other one that was actually true what we saw. But do you feel that way, like when you watch now, that you could have done it better?
I can't when
you hear promos and stuff, come on.
Well, you know what I do that
you rewrite it in your head.
I do rewrite a lot, but you know what I do a lot that my husband finds, if he finds it annoying, he has not let on, but he is always amazed by, because I will finish lines on TV shows that I have not seen.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think there's only so many ways you can say words.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of, or I'll discover the plot twist before it happens.
Yeah.
And I'm really fun to watch TV with.
Yeah, except when I watch like those medical shows, I can't get out half the things that they say, with the tracheotomy and all. I can't finish those sentences, but I absolutely know they're like, okay, just right about now the ex-wife's going to come in and say, don't turn off the machines, I still love them. There's a lack of, well, I don't want to slam but there's a lack of creativity, so it's very easy sometimes when you're watching to, like,
well, it's hard to be creative when TV's been on
inundated,
for so many years.
Yeah.
So.
And there's so many different avenues, but anyway.
Yeah. So that's why reality, because people never know where those are going.
Oh, yeah. Woo, what a shocker.
Let's move on.
Okay, so I dropped my son off at school this morning, and I said, hey, what's with those girls wearing, like, cheerleading outfits? Like, they don't have cheerleaders at his school because they're in middle school. And he said, oh, it's Jocks and Nerds Day. I'm like, what? And he goes, it's Jocks and Nerd Day. Do you have a thought about that, a feeling, a first reaction to that? He's in 8th grade.
Those are the only options, first of all, that you get. Wow. I'm surprised, first of all.
Why are you surprised?
I'm surprised in this day of political correctness that they're being so divisive at the school.
Right. And
who is it? But here's my other question. Who created this day? Is it the school or is it like the student body government?
Well, I will.
ASB.
I will have to ask because Sam's friend is the president of the ASB, so I will have to ask her. But I too was shocked. I was like, I can't believe that got past the radar in this day
and why
and
didn't
age.
they include the burnouts and the who else was?
Oh
what
my
other
God.
groups were there?
We had burnouts.
And then like the theater people,
oh, the drama geeks, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
And the preppies
And the band.
Oh, the band geeks
Yeah.
and the preppies. Yeah, we had all those things, but like,
Yeah, the preps weren't necessarily the jocks.
but the jocks and the nerds. So does that mean, like, when I grew up, jocks were just boys. So immediately when I heard jocks and nerds say, I'm like, oh, well, where do the girls fit in? If you're
Oh, look at
like,
you being sexist.
well, no, that's how I don't think it was sexist, but that's how I was raised. Like,
Right.
girls weren't jocks; they were the cheerleaders. Like, that's just that's the times. We were not all that worried about it back then. Like, people just went where they went. But I was actually really surprised, and then I thought it was kind of a breath of fresh air for me that we weren't doing 20 different categories to make sure that every child fit in one. And I was like, oh, kind of nice that we just for 5 seconds went back to just
How we existed.
good old existence, and everybody actually turned out a little bit okay. That I was a little relieved that it was that, and then I thought, oh gosh, like, where do people fit?
Right.
So I don't know.
Do you think that there are parents who complained? Because
Oh,
there
I'm
are
sure there is going to be parents that will complain. But I don't know. I it's funny. I went to a training yesterday on. This is exciting, on male trauma and sexual assault and the healing process. It was a riveting day. And
In case you're just joining us, first of all, you're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Right.
Secondly, when Kim is not in the studio, she's out making an impact in the world through lots of peer mentoring and training and helping out teens.
Yeah, and doing mental health and training it. Yeah.
So this makes sense.
So this makes
you
sense
just going
because-
there on your spare time.
Well, some people do that. There were a couple people in the room that did that.
Don't judge.
But I went and listened. It was at I live in Southern California, and it was California Endowment. It's a beautiful building, and I've been to lots of functions there. But I used the restroom yesterday, and there was the the women's restroom, the men's restroom, and then the all-inclusive restroom.
Was it actually labeled all-inclusive?
Yes. And I thought, isn't that a little hypocritical to have the all-inclusive bathroom totally separate from the men's bathroom and the women's bathroom? Right? Like, because now I'm like, who's going to go into the all-inclusive bathroom? And now I was totally focused on the all-inclusive bathroom, which I walked back to my desk with my staff member. I'm like, does this make me a bad person? Because now I'm like, what's happening in the all-inclusive bathroom? And suddenly it didn't feel very inclusive anymore. Now it felt very segregated.
Right,
Have you ever
right.
thought about that?
That's very interesting.
Right?
That's a very interesting point. It's funny because on the show, I think that you and I are very similar in some ways in that we want equality for all, and we fight for, we're advocates for those who don't have a voice in very different ways.
Yeah.
But we also, I think more and more as we get more comfortable doing this, kind of call stuff out when we see it, like the geeks in the,
Right.
Some people are, I think we're always looking for something to be angry at.
Right.
But I also think that we're overcompensating to a very awkward place.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that could have just been like those handicap bathrooms where it had like the male and then the female next to it or something. Like
It literally, I wish I would have taken a picture, but my phone was in the room. But it was like there was a description of all the people that could come into this.
Oh, are you serious?
Yes.
Was there like a scroll and somebody standing there?
No, but it was like a 2-sentence paragraph. I mean, I'm being a little sarcastic, but it was like all inclusive. Anyone that feels able, it was like a whole thing. I stood there and I was like, I really want to just know what I'm feeling right now because I do not care. Knock yourself out. But I just thought that calling it an all-inclusive, and it was on one side of the hallway and the men and women bathroom were on the opposite side of the hallway. And it could have just been logistics, the way that they built it. I mean, it just could have been, maybe it was a family bathroom. Maybe it was a handicap bathroom at one time that they changed and, transformed it into whatever. But it just did not feel very inclusive for an, I don't know.
right.
I am so, as I get older, part of me is so much more aware of certain things, and a part of me just can't take on every every political debate, every societal debate, because I'm exhausted.
Right.
My brain cannot take it. And the truth is, we lived and grew up in that environment, and I'm perfect.
Well,
are you perfect? You're perfect.
I'm not perfect.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I always say that the people who are like, we did X, Y, and Z when we were growing up and we turned out just fine, is usually the person who turned out anything but fine. You know what I mean?
Oh, I actually think I turned out pretty good.
No, I'm not talking about you, but like,
yeah,
sure, I'm not talking about you.
Uh-huh.
But I think that, yeah, we went through a lot, and we had lead paint, and we had this and that, and we, you know, and now we know better. You know, I think that now that we know better, we should do better. And so, yes, there are some things that were over the top, but I also think we need to be conscientious of, like, you know, you are a redheaded white girl, you know, with all the, you know, the privilege in the world. And so, you know, it's very easy to say like, hey, everything's fine, but you know, we know more, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm just saying. So we're going to be joined by Lauren Makk.
Oh,
yes.
That's fast.
Isn't that exciting?
Oh.
So we are, Lauren Makk is in the house today.
Good morning.
She is
Good
here.
morning.
Hi, Lauren.
Oh, you have sexy voice.
Doesn't she have your voice? My gosh. We're going to
You
have
have
to
a sexy voice. I like it.
Kim will want you on her voiceover. So now we can see her because we're over Skype.
Oh.
So welcome to the show. Oh,
Thank you so much for having me this morning, ladies.
thanks for being here. So I was just telling the audience that you and I worked together on Fab Life, where you're the homegirl next door. And I don't know, you could take a cardboard box and make it look like, you know, a 4-star hotel or 5-star hotel.
She's just going to go for the 3-star. Let's just start low.
A 3.5-star hotel. But let's go back. Let's go back in the world of Lauren Makk. What were you doing when this all happened?
You know what's crazy? I had actually moved to Hawaii on a whim. I went there for vacation and I fell in love with the community and, you know, the freedom of the island. And so I actually moved there. I didn't know anyone. I decided I was just going to go. I thought I am single with no kids, and now is the time if I were going to do anything adventurous, this is it. And so when I moved to Hawaii, I was like, well, what the heck am I going to do now? So thankfully, I used myself and my own resources to sort of, you know, promote myself. I went to Craigslist and advertised myself as a designer. Thankfully, I had done training spaces before, so I had a couple of, you know, recommendations and a little bit of clout. Absolutely. And then I wrote all of the local news channels, and I said, hey, there's a designer in town. I'm new, and I'd love to work with you on some segments. And actually was fortunate enough to be able to be given my own segment on the local news KHON2. So I was both designing, and I was also sort of corresponding for the news. And it was a really cool, incredible experience. I went from having 0 clients to having over 1,400 in the 4 years that I was there.
Wow. So, I mean, you know, talk about hustle. Everyone, it seems like, has a side hustle now, and they're maybe some of them are doing the job.
That sounds like a new dance, the side hustle. Yeah.
But, you know,
I'm taking that. Don't steal my side hustle.
You can have it. You can have it.
Kim's trademark. But but Lauren was here, so we'll have to learn how to do the steps together. So, but you know, we're doing. A lot of people now are doing the job they have to do to make money, and then they're doing the side hustle because they want to move into that position. Yeah. But you were young and pushing and doing the hustle for what you really wanted to do. Yeah, how did you have that ability to go for it as opposed to like, oh, I should just punch a clock like a lot of people fall into?
I'm going to tell you something. I have a philosophy about life, and it is, why not? You know, a lot of people are always thinking, well, how could it be me? And I say, why not me?
Yep.
You know, why not me? Why not? Why? There's somebody's going to do it. So why can't it be me? And that has been my philosophy throughout my entire life. You know, I'm a small town girl. I'm from Oklahoma, and where girls don't have the opportunities to do the things that I've done. Mm-hmm. And all my life I've said to myself, you know, if it's going to be somebody, why not? Why shouldn't it be me? And that has been the reason why I think I've been part of the reason I've been successful is because I just dare to dream. And I feel like if someone's going to do it, it could be me. So,
right. And I think that's
I thought,
amazing. I mean, you're pretty young, and
I was young then. I mean, I'm getting a little longer in the old tooth.
But I think, Kim and I talk to a lot of women in their 40s and 50s, and they're just moving into that stage of like, I want to do something that feels good. I want to do something that matters to me. And so to be able to kind of tap into that, like, what in your upbringing made you feel so confident that you could just go for it?
I think that my parents always encouraged me to like leave the state, to get out and to try something new. They never told me no. They never told me I couldn't do something. And that was always a really great foundation. But even still, they were trepidatious. When I wanted to move to Los Angeles to go to college, they were like, are you sure you want to go to LA? You're only 18 years old. Is that something you think you really could do? And I thought, well, the greatest news about home is that you can always come back. Yep. And I think that's one of those things that if you kind of believe in that possibility, then it makes it a little bit more easy. But I mean, still, I was 28 when I moved to Hawaii, and that's a pretty, that's a time in your life when you should start to be a little more solid in your future. But I thought it's now or never. Right. If I don't go now, I'll be with kids and have a career, and I won't be able to just sort of live with life. Yeah, exactly. It'll be my midlife crisis.
So, when did the design bug first hit you? Because your skills you have some mad skills, Lauren Makk.
Oh, thank you guys. Well, listen, I'll tell you this. Whitney Houston was born to sing. David Beckham was born to kick. Lauren Makk was born to design. Wow. I think that I thought I had sort of like somewhere on the Asperger's spectrum, because I would go to my babysitter's house and I'd have to rearrange her pillows on her bed, or I couldn't sit with
little OCD.
In the doctor's office. Yeah, totally. I couldn't sit in a doctor's office if the picture was hung too high. I'd have to, not look at it. And it was one of those things that I thought I had a problem, really. But then one day I turned on television and I saw Designing Women. You remember that show?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes. That was
my
life. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, there's a job for women. There's something out there for me to do. I can be an interior designer, and I can actually, there's an actual trade in this. And so when I grew up, I thought I was Suzanne Sugarbaker.
I loved her. Plus she was the curvy girl who owned it. She was like the first, the OG.
She was. And I still have a little Delta Burke in me,
We all do.
So you realized that you could do that for a living, and then did you start taking classes, or did you just start doing it for people?
Well, actually, what I did was in high school, I was a muralist. I actually really enjoyed street art. So I was into graffiti and street art. And my dream was that I was going to sell my car, which was the only possession I owned outright. And I was going to become an artist. I was going to move to Europe and paint all of Europe. And my mom was like, well, I think you better pursue college. That was a good time for that. So in other words, she said, hell no, you're staying at home.
Right. In short.
That was the only time she told me no. So I did. I said, how can I mix my love of art with sort of my passion for design and make it into something great? And that's when I came immediately to interior design. It seemed like the most natural progression. And the first day of college classes, I knew that was what I was meant to do for life. And I never looked back.
That's awesome. And so now, I mean, from Hawaii, you get
to Hollywood.
To Hollywood.
Yeah.
So you're on the news, you're designing, and then all of us, like, you got a phone call one day.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Actually, what happened was right after college, I got a job working in the model home merchandising business. So I worked for a team. We designed a lot of model homes across the United States for the big builders. And at the time, this is at the height of the building industry when things were going really well. So it was easy to find a job in interior design, which I have to say, in general, is not always the easiest thing to do. Everybody wants to be a designer. There are not a lot of design jobs. But and so I started working for this company for about 3 years, and we were award winning. It was a great opportunity, but I could see that the market was about to pop, the bubble. And I was like, I'm not going to have a job this time next year, because I could see my other colleagues were getting fired, and I was like, oh boy, this is going down the tubes. So one day at lunch, I was using my old Sidekick phone. Do you guys remember that?
Oh gosh, yeah. Sidekick. Oh my God, that's funny.
It was like the first phone with internet that I think I had,
Yeah.
And I
felt so cool.
Oh, I thought it was the best phone ever. It was so futuristic. I went on Craigslist during my lunch break, and I actually found an opportunity on Craigslist to be on Trading Spaces, and that was a huge show on TLC at the time.
Yeah, I love that show with Paige.
With Paige Davis, that's right,
Yep.
Paige. So I had all this great photography from my experience with my job, and I took my portfolio up to the audition, took off work that day, and actually got the job. I had never worked in television and never really even considered it.
Wow.
So it was actually Craigslist that saved me in my career.
Yeah.
Before Craigslist went awry, it actually did good things.
Yeah. Now, and that's amazing too, because, that's a pretty, I think, networks like TLC, especially then, didn't necessarily have the budget to be going on to some of these bigger websites. And they were also looking for talent that was pretty raw and new.
Absolutely.
They didn't want that expensive person, first of all, but somebody who had been doing it for years. And because I think that's what was so great about that show. It was just, it felt relatable.
Exactly.
And doable.
And I think too, it was I always use Craigslist as a great tool for both hiring, for buying things. It was a great experience for me to find an opportunity and a job. And it still to this day has a lot of opportunity on there. So I recommend all of you listeners out there to take a look at Craigslist first. It's one of my favorite websites.
That's awesome. So you get on Trading Spaces, and then you head over to Hawaii at 28. You're over in Hawaii, and you got a phone call. How did Fab Life come to be?
So Fab Life actually was an incredible experience, and one that I say it just happened by kismet. One of my old producers from Trading Spaces was now working with ABC and was a producer on ABC. And apparently they had been auditioning for a lot of people and just couldn't find the right fit for the show. And so he reached out to me via Facebook and said, "Hey, what are you doing now? If you have an opportunity, if you're available, and if you're still interested in doing anything in television, I'd love for you to meet with some of the producers, some of the head honchos over at ABC." Well, ironically, I had opened a furniture store while I was in Hawaii, servicing my clients. And I'd opened two furniture stores at the time. And I was like, daunted by it. I mean, it was like, it was having a baby, a really big, screaming, expensive baby that you didn't know what it needed. So I was just on the edge of like getting worn down by owning my own brick and mortar business, which had been a completely new experience for me, but it was still exciting. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to see what happens at this audition. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, I still have two furniture stores that I can rely on. And I went on the audition, and, I felt the magic in the moment,
Wow.
I knew that it was something, I knew something special had happened, and I just didn't quite know what. But it was one of those moments where I said, I think my days in Hawaii are done.
That's amazing when you get that feeling and something bigger is meant for you.
So we were talking, I think, before you came on about like the mystique around television, and is it as great when you're on it versus watching it? Like, do you feel like now that you've been in television, both when early days of Trading Spaces, but now when you are on Fab Life, that it's not all that it's cracked up to be, that it's more glamorous, that you like, what do you?
Oh man, I got to tell you, there's nothing I could say completely negative. Everybody's daunted by their job, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what an opportunity. It seems to be, it would be a slap in the face if I were to complain about anything, because I'm certainly one of those people would kill to have my job. And, I have to remind myself of that every day. If there's a time when I feel overwhelmed or uninspired, that I have such a real opportunity. So that's been crazy. Fab Life was on a whole nother level though. You're working with production on, like, say, Trading Spaces, which was great. But Fab Life, I'm meeting celebrities every day and getting to do anything you want to do. Imagine, I got to meet Dolly Parton, and she put her boob on mine. It was like, I could have died immediately.
I think in some cultures you're now married.
Yes, I think so. Is that the official process? So to downplay it would be a disservice to the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't mean to downplay. I just mean that, like, especially coming from a creative. Okay, so let me separate it out this way. If you're an actor and
Sure.
your dream is to be in movies and television, and you're given a part and you get to create that part, you're a creative person. You're a design person. Do you feel like the production element of television, having to squash things into a 2-minute segment or a quick, like, do you feel like that in any way it didn't allow some of your creativity to breathe, then it's not a slam. It's just, I mean, you know that. I mean, I know Jackie's creative. Like you can't be as grandiose because it all has to fit in a time slot.
That
you
is
know?
very,
And that's what I mean.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. There, especially with something that I do where it has so many steps involved, oftentimes you can't get everything out. And so, you have to cater your projects or whatever to a certain time frame. And so that is completely true. And of course, knowing how television works, we cut out a lot of the filler sometimes. Right. So you do know the behind the scenes of like a design show and you're like, that didn't happen that way. But
come on.
So that they can say, go to our website and find out more information. So
remember before the internet and that you'd have to have it all right there. Now you're you're like, get the steps over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you bring up a totally great point over there. There's a lot of things that were cut, let's say, because it wasn't as easily explainable as you'd like it to be.
But I think in some ways, saying it that way, that you have to hone your craft a little bit better. You have to, be able to be quicker with the things that you say and quicker with your descriptions and find projects that are
come out of the gate.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think on your feet much quicker.
That's true. And that's totally true. And that's one of the things that I love about things like, say, Pinterest, for instance, where you actually can go to a website and find out all of the information that you really need, or, to really re-improve a project.
Right. Pinterest makes me feel bad about myself because I always, seriously. We had Leah Ashley here last week, Lauren.
Yes.
And, I would ask her about DIY and, pre-baby, she was all, and now she's like, I would just buy it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that look amazing on Pinterest and then you get it home. Like I have a shelf in my thing in my kitchen right now that I'm redoing, upcycling, and it's not going so well.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you this though. DIYing or even upcycling is kind of like plastic surgery. It's going to look ugly before it looks great.
All right.
Yeah.
My cycle went off the rails. My upcycling, there's none of that in my house.
Well, at least I'm at step one. I'm at the ugly stage. So, how do you think that being on? I mean, Trading Spaces is great, but Fab Life, the platform is so much. It was so huge. And how has that changed your life, being on that show?
Certainly, I've been able to share my talents with a much broader audience, and I've really found a community of women and people that I found are really interested and eager and supportive of me. And what I found too is that I may have gotten the job as an interior design expert, but I have found that my life experiences are much more valuable to our audience than, say, my design expertise. For instance, I shared with the audience that I've lost over 140 pounds and continue daily to struggle with my weight. Mm-hmm. In fact, this morning I've got a little banana shake instead of the chocolate donut like I really want to.
Right.
And so that I found a lot of support. I mean, that's a very fragile place to come from. It's very nerve-wracking to talk about weight loss journey or weight loss in general, or even body image issues with other women and certainly with the entire country. And so I found that I've gained a lot of support from women and, created a network of other people that can relate. And maybe not even it's weight. It's maybe, I've got a club foot or, a cleft palate. It doesn't matter. But body image is something that I've learned to really connect with an audience about. And, just being a single woman before I was during the show, I transitioned from being single to dating someone. And it was an interesting kind of transition. And I got to share those experiences too, dating in the modern world. And then, now I'm about to have a baby.
Yes!
Oh my gosh. Yay.
I was totally getting there because the last time I saw you in April when we left the show, your life looked very, very different.
Yes, it did. And so did my tummy.
You look amazing, first of all. Your Instagram, you guys have to follow her.
Thank you.
On Instagram. But, and you're glowing. And, I remember when I was pregnant and people would tell me that and I wanted to punch them. But you're actually glowing in a good way. I was just sweating.
Thank you so much. It's just sweat, really.
So you're due not so far.
I have 28 days before this baby comes.
Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh.
I know. It's crazy.
And talk about life changing. So you finish up at the show. You find out you're pregnant. Now you're having a baby. And what does life look like now for you?
There must be something about Fab Life. Because didn't Leah come in? Wait, I'm just putting it together. She came in pregnant, and you're right. She was pregnant
on the pilot. She wasn't pregnant on the
Right, but
pilot, right?
Who, Leah?
Yeah.
No, she wasn't pregnant on the pilot.
Right.
She's pregnant during the show, and then
okay.
Yeah, right
Before
after
the show. Yeah.
Something
We were in New York
in that
together.
catering truck over there.
Chrissy had a baby.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Tyra had the big mystery baby via surrogate.
Yeah.
Where's Josie's baby?
He's the daddy.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
There's a twist.
Right? You're like, yeah, all along it was Josie. He's my love.
Exactly. We had too much wine one night and things got
So, Lauren, I have a question. So you talked a little bit about like body image and dealing with your weight. Do you feel like being on television that exasperated that for you? I mean, we posted something on our Facebook page the other day about Orange is the New Black from Dasha Polanco, like went on red carpet in a bodysuit and like was very beautiful and showing all of her body. And she said that like, I needed to do this because I had this shoot. Like, do you feel like TV helped you or help you come out of the closet? Like, what do you not come out of the closet, but I mean like, you know what I meant? Like, I can't imagine like being in the public eye and having some of those you know, concerns and insecurities and then having to deal with it on such a public stage.
I got to be honest. Well, you know, that's a double-edged sword because one, ABC was so supportive of me and said, please don't lose any weight. We want you to be just the way you come. And that was a real relief for me because I was sitting next to the two most beautiful women in the world, Tyra Banks. Well, three of the most beautiful women in the world, Tyra Banks and Chrissy Teigen and Leah Ashley, who bounced back in 10 seconds after she had her baby. Yeah. And so there I am thinking, well, how do I measure up to these women, you know? And then we'd go get dressed for clothes for our wardrobe. And I'm thinking, I got to wear a jacket to cover my arms. But then you know what? I said to myself, I adopted the same measure of strength that I had when I was saying, why not? And I thought, well, somebody's got to be a size 10 or greater. Mm-hmm. So why can't it be me? Right. And I thought, every woman out there is struggling with something. Everybody struggles with something, whether it be, you know, their own personal insecurities about the way they look or how they talk or how they feel about themselves. And I thought, well, I may as well celebrate this because it ain't going away. Right. And I just strapped on a pair of Spanx and went out with a smile.
And you would talk about the Spanx on the air and all that. And I think by empowering yourself, you have empowered millions of women out there to just love the body that they're in.
Yeah, but they've done the same for me. You know, that's what I thought. I was going out there to tell other women to be great. And then I found that through their own stories, too, that it made me feel better about my circumstances as well. So I realized that I wasn't alone. And that's kind of one of the biggest things that I think came from this whole process is that none of us are alone in anything. We all have our own insecurities. We're all worried about something, whether it be so stupid or something but it's big to us, you know?
Exactly. It's significant.
Yeah.
And so how has carrying a child changed the way you look at your body?
Oh my goodness. You know, one of the things that I learned through the process of even losing weight is how good my body has been to me, you know, and that's everybody. You know, our body wants to heal itself. It wants to be healthy. It wants to do what it's supposed to do by nature. And it's been, you know, resilient for me through all of my weight journeys, whether it be up or down. My body's adapted to the process, and I've been pretty impressed with the shell of myself. You know what I mean? Because really, I think all of our bodies are just where our soul lives, you know? So it's been pretty incredible to witness it do its thing. And I think that just comes from maturity as well. But also, certainly now that I'm growing a baby, it's been even greater for me because I think to myself, my body's doing something that it's naturally meant to do. And I'm literally growing a penis right now inside of me.
I was going to thank you.
I'm like, does that happen in pregnancy?
That didn't happen to me. Could come in handy now as a single woman, but no.
Yeah. Kim's like, how do I grow one of those? She has one in her house, but you know.
it just is really incredible to me that the body does this, you know, and so I'm really loving every minute of how it's reacting to what's going on. And I got to say, this pregnancy has been very easy for me. I was hardly sick initially, and it's been a very smooth ride the entire time. So if I had known this, I'd have probably had a baby a long time ago.
So I had a great,
have, you know, the life set up the way you do.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but not all the I mean, I had a really easy pregnancy. I mean, I didn't even really know I knew I was pregnant, obviously, but like I didn't pop until later. And I was a breeze, and I couldn't brag about it because other people around me were like barfing. And so you're having a boy.
Yes.
Okay. So are you nervous? Do you feel like being a woman that you would have been happier having a girl first so that you could work out all the kinks, or you feel like you need to work it out with the boy? And like, what are you feeling about having a boy?
Girl, I'm in my mid-30s. I never really thought I would have had a baby. I was living a single life and kind of doing anything I want to do. I took a trip to Thailand last year on a whim. This came as a surprise, of course, so I'm adjusting accordingly. I was a Sex and the City kind of girl. I was more of a Blanche Devereaux than a Dorothy Spordak.
I love the Golden Girls reference.
Yes, of course. I was living life, really freely and enjoying spending my money on frivolous things like me as opposed to a child. So, when this came about, obviously I'm embracing every moment of this new step in my journey. But I think I'm one of those women who were like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have a baby, as opposed to I can't wait to have a baby.
Right.
And that's one of those things that I'm living every day and just really embracing it now that I'm at the end of the journey. You know what I've learned about having a baby is have is a verb. See, initially you're like, I'm going to have a baby. And that just sounds like so much fun.
I love that you just said you think you're at the end of your journey. I'm 13 years into mine and I'm like, oh my God, I have a baby. What the hell happened to me?
Totally.
But I always joke that I didn't feel like an adult until I got divorced. I got married, bought a house, had a baby, but did not feel like I was an adult until I signed my divorce papers. Like, that's
there
weird.
There you go. Well, then I have something to look forward to.
All backwards. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Last Sunday, I was at a 50th birthday party for a friend, and the kids, we brought our kids, and it was on a Sunday and at 4:00. And so I turned to my husband and I said, I just want to make sure we leave by 8 because we've got homework and we've got, some other things. And then I just stopped and I was like, who the hell am I? Like, when did this happen?
Oh, I was thinking you were going to say 5. I'm like, wow, you gave it till 8. I was like, I'm out at 5
because I wanted to have a good time.
Yeah, there you go.
But it was. I didn't even recognize. Like,
Crazy?
It's so crazy, and life just kind of doesn't necessarily always give us what we ask for, but sometimes gives us what we need.
There you go. And that's exactly what I think. I think the Lord was like, I got to get this girl off the bottle. So let me give her a baby.
Now you're on a different
kind of bottle. The bottle onto the nipple.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. So in addition to that, with the baby and the excitement of that, you also have new opportunities professionally. What are you doing there?
So I am working on a new production for the Oprah Winfrey Network as we speak. It's called Homemade Simple. It's an Emmy Award-winning show. Mm-hmm. And it's on Saturday mornings, depending on where you live, around 9 o'clock in the morning, hosted by Jeremiah Brent, who is a fantastic host and designer as well. And I'm very excited about this because first of all, Oprah is practically God to me. And just the thought of her seeing me on her network pretty much is my reason for dying or living. And I'm very excited about that. And there's some other exciting opportunities that are also coming up. So that's been fun. And, just excited about this experience of motherhood. I cannot imagine a more important job ever. And am learning to be more patient and kind and calm, which are all things that are not natural to me.
Yeah. And finding out that you don't really have the control that you'd like to have.
Have you started having anxiety about how you're going to make it all work with having a baby and having a business? And
now she is.
Yeah. Like, no, I'm serious. I mean, we talk a lot about on this show about, women having it all and like the beauty in that. And then the reality of how crappy that is to have it all and like need to have it all. So have you thought about like how that's going to look for you to manage being a mom and being a businesswoman?
Well, I think I'm going to do it like I've always done. I'm going to say, why not? Why can't we as women have it all? I don't think that a child is going to stop me from doing anything that I want to do because this train is moving. It's just going to be an extra layer to the experience. And my goal for this child is to raise him in a way that he can have it all too. And I think, and empower him to be the greatest human being that he can be. And that's what I've been learning to do. And I think that, the universe always finds a way for everything to fall in place. And so I think I'll be all right. I hope.
I think that your positive attitude and your ability and openness to jump into opportunity and to say yes, like that's one thing. I'm 45. That's one thing I'm learning in the past 2 years, really, is that I say yes more often. you know, because we say no a lot out of fear. And I think that kind of keeps us, and we have these dreams, and yet we keep saying no.
Well, that's hilarious. I find that I say no more often. Let me preface it by saying that because I know my limitations and my boundaries, and I'm more confident in myself to be able to say no confidently as opposed to like squashing something, but like. Because I can't do it all, and I don't want to stretch myself so that I'm not showing up 100%. So I find that I'm actually saying no a little bit.
Saying yes to the opportunities that present themselves that really spark you, and saying no to the things that drag you down, that feel, you know, and outsourcing those things.
Say no to everything. Say yes to the right things.
There you go.
Oh, I like that.
We're going to quote that. Well, Lauren, we really appreciate your being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I miss you so much.
I miss you, and I'm so happy for your success and for your baby.
And the baby. Send pictures.
Does he have a name?
He does have a name. We announced it at our birth. His name is Preston Cruz.
Oh, I love it.
And Preston's after my father, which is my father's middle name. So it's a good family name, and he's the only boy in our family in over 22 years.
Oh my gosh!
Yes. So I tell you, it was meant to be. I had to have him.
Get that boy a throne because he will be king.
Yes, he will.
And how is your man handling, you know, the impending?
Oh, he's more excited than me.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to do any of the work.
Well, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He who is it? Jim Gaffigan, who's like, it's kind of embarrassing at the lack of
participation.
Yeah.
His contribution is minimal.
But it will be huge when he's here.
Yes, he will.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you,
Lauren. Good luck to you.
Okay, bye, Lauren.
Bye, Eddie's.
So she is just a breath of fresh air. I remember when I saw the pilot, because not everybody saw the pilot of Fab Life. You know, it never aired.
Yeah.
You know, and she talked about her weight loss and all that stuff. She was just so relatable.
I want to hear how perky she is in 6 months. I think we should have the Laurenometer, you know,
we'll do a check-in. We'll have her Skype in.
See if her hair's all frizzy and she's like got spit up and puke on her, and you know.
Yeah, but she'll still be positive. She'll still be saying yes to stuff.
I listened to that and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so amazing and so exhausting to be so perky and positive all the time. Like, I'm serious. I had a boyfriend that was like that, and I'm like, don't you ever just want to like say F you world, you know?
Yeah, but
like,
she's also very realistic in life.
Of course.
You know.
No, it's great. I'm envious. I mean, she really does have such a positive attitude, but it sounds like she's realistic about how it's going to fit.
But, you know, we talk about this a lot, you know, on the air and off the air, but, you know, opportunities and you know, I was having this conversation with a friend the other day of, you know, being at a place in our lives that we want to do things that matter. And you and I talk about this regularly, and being able to say yes to things that spark us. Like, you know, when opportunities came up for you, like, I think that you're saying yes. I'm just calling you out here. I think you're saying yes to opportunities more as well as you get.
Well, the things that I'm saying yes to are things that I have been working towards. It's not like I'm saying yes to things that are totally outside my comfort zone. I mean, I'm jumping into things that are important to me as opposed to things that have come along that I'm like, nah. And not like I get asked to do a lot of things and I'm saying no a lot because it's not, it can't work, or, you know, I've turned things down because it just doesn't fit in my schedule, and I'm not willing to, you know, leave my kid for an extended period of time for something that I'm just not that all, you know, I don't know. I think that's what I'm saying, that I find that I say no because I'm stronger with what my role is at home, I guess. I don't know if that means, and then there are things I say yes to because I'm like, oh, I've been working towards that. And yes means that I'm accomplishing something that's important to me.
I think that when my kids were younger, I would say no to things that could be things that I was working toward. So they were, because it was like, oh, that won't be good for the kids. You know, and I don't know that it wouldn't have been good for the kids. It was just fear of, like, you know, and we talk about this too, is that I sometimes will look at a situation and decide what the problems are in that situation before the situation actually presents itself.
Right. Well,
you know, so it's like, oh, wow, if I get this opportunity, how am I going to be a mom? How am I going to, you know, do the things I want to do? How am I going to balance it all? And so then the thing that never is compromised is the kids, I'm never like, sorry kids, I'm not going to be your mom for 6 months.
Yeah, but I think looking at the pitfalls, I mean, this is where you and I have blended nicely, I think, because I'm maybe the pitfall girl that I too am like, okay, where are the pitfalls? Where can this go awry? Where can and I look at the negative first, only because I know how to fix negative. Like we've always said this, and I always shared this. Like, I'm fearful of the success part of things. Like, I know how to succeed in the failure part. I know how to overcome the failure part. It's the success part that I struggle with. But going to the negative first is like, okay, what are the things that could make this go wrong? How can I fix that so that I can try to go towards the success? But looking at how you can manage it all, I think is a smart woman, regardless of business part about the mom.
Like I was saying, in the past, I would just not do the thing that really would have sparked me or fulfilled me. And now at this point, I feel like I have a responsibility to my kids to take those opportunities to show them that you can have, So I'm just saying that I don't know if for a lot of people it changes as depending on the kids' ages.
Well, I was just going to say, according to it absolutely with their age. I mean, I think it's harder for me to leave my son now that he's going to be 13 that it was when he was younger, because he recognizes the impact of my absence more now than when he was younger. Because when we talked to Kira Phillips, she talked about things in her home, the kids measure everything by sleeps. Like, I remember that my son was like, how many sleeps? But he didn't know 2 sleeps versus 5 sleeps in terms of how long that was. Yeah. Now he absolutely knows time. He knows calendar. He knows days. He understands that if I'm going to be gone for 2 days, what that means and how that's going to impact his life, because now I'm juggling 7 different, carpools to get him where, like, it absolutely impacts him. And so leaving now is harder for me.
Well, because don't you think too, I mean, at 13 years old, like his relationships outside of you get more complicated, and, some life is more complicated. And so having you around is his constant, is his safety.
Right.
And so when you're not around, where does he go with that?
Right. And so that's why I think that for me now, like, saying no, is because I have to think about the impact that that's going to have on my kid, and me leaving for, 2 days to go do something, and spend 12 hours flying somewhere for an hour. Think, like, is it worth what the impact is going to have on my kid? Like, I, went out of town for a couple of days recently and came back in, and my son was standing at the door, jumping up and down, like, waiting for me to say hello. Like, it's like, I haven't felt that since he was in kindergarten, or like preschool when I'd pick him up. He just was, and I literally was like, I think not even a 48-hour turnaround. And he just was like, I missed you. He cuddled up next to me. He was like, can I sleep? And I was like, this is hard for me to be away from him, because our relationship is deep and connected. And so really, the things I do are
there's something about the junior high. Like, all right, my kid's been in junior high for like 10 minutes now, but since August, and there's something already about the junior high years that I am loving. Yeah. He just, like, yesterday said, I love you, Mom. He goes, when's the last time I said it first? And it was just like, he's recognizing that my existence is not purely for his needs. Right. You know what I mean? And that I have other things, and I have feelings, and I have, he's becoming this little man.
Yeah. My son too, he's becoming the things that I have been trying to teach him. And a part of me is like, dang it, why did I have to teach him that? Like, we had dinner the other night, and I gave it to him, and I said, go ahead, honey. And I was eating mine, and he didn't eat it. I said, what's the matter? And he said, it's hot. And I'm like, it's not hot. And he goes, everyone's entitled to their opinion, Mom. That's my opinion. I was like, dang. I'm like, all right. And I sat back, and in my head, I'm laughing that, like, that's where he chose to exercise his muscle over the temperature of his pasta. Right. But he was, like, indignant with me that, like, don't tell me what my temperature of my pasta is. I was like, all right.
But and you're raising.
I loved it
because I think it's, we talk about that all the time. We want to raise these kids who, are respectful to authority, but also challenge the norms, so if it's because of the temp, and I'm sure it was your Blue Apron meal that was delicious that we'll tell people more about later. But we, seeing these kids grow into these little young men. Mm-hmm. By the way, I realized the importance of deodorant the other day. I was like, whoa. Oh, really? This is new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, babe. Thankfully, he doesn't listen to our show. But hey, we only have a few minutes left.
Okay.
So I want to get to some broad topics because we have not done that.
Okay.
So.
And now, broad topics.
Oh, thank you,
Thanks, Andrew
voiceover guy. So Donald Trump,
Oh, God.
I know, was on Dr. Oz, and the whole like will he or won't he with the medical records, blah blah blah. But after that, he went on to the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Did you see this?
I think I saw a clip of it, but I don't know what you're going to say.
The internet is just up in arms because Jimmy Fallon was like fawning over him, and like playing with him and being playful, like, kind of treating him the way he treats his guests, or a
puppy dog.
But I mean, he has a very playful way about him and things like that.
Donald Trump or Jimmy Fallon?
No, Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, okay.
So, but everybody's really upset because they're like, he's making light of a dangerous man, and he is saying racism is okay by treating him, not questioning him about his.
Did Jimmy Fallon give him a noogie or something, like rub his hair?
Yeah, he
give him a noogie?
totally rubbed his hair.
Okay.
But do you think it's Jimmy Fallon's job to call out political figures?
Am torn on what I feel on presidents or presidential nominees appearing on variety shows. I'm really struggling.
Really?
Yeah, because a part of me says they're everyday people who happen to be in a place of leadership, and I don't mean it happened as if they stumbled upon it, but like that is their job. And I want to see the human side of them, and I want to see them not be so structured and political all the time. And then there are times where I feel like, but do I always want to see them being so jokey and like doing, car karaoke or whatever? Like I don't know. I'm really torn. But do I think that it's Jimmy Fallon's job to like not be who he is just because he's interviewing someone who's running for president?
Right.
No, I think
like he was supposed to suddenly be Matt Lauer.
No, I think he needs to be exactly who he is. And you know what? If people have a hard time with it, change channel. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I actually kind of like that when the candidates or even the president or the first lady go on some of these shows and show that human side. Like, I enjoy it because I think there are a lot of people out there that are not politically savvy or interested. And if we can kind of, as a nation, put these leaders in front of them in the areas and where they actually will see them and have exposure to them, I think that's important. But I also, I want to know that the president, our future president, can take a joke or can like
Well, it helped many years ago when remember, and I'm totally going to forget
Bill
what
Clinton.
show Bill Clinton, when he played saxophone. Was it on Arsenio
Hall? Yeah.
And that was at a time where there was controversy over him when he was running for office, and so they put him in that environment so that people could like remember where he came from, what he stands for, and to kind of take him out of that controversial light. And I appreciate that, but I also feel like I've seen times like with Senator John McCain was on something and he was so boring. I'm like, what was like? You also got to know your audience. You have to know
then I know.
But it did not translate for me.
Right.
When he was sitting, I think it was David Letterman or whatever he was on, and I was like, you're still just as boring. Like, so I also don't want, I snorted because I was sleeping, not because I was snorting.
I know. It's
Jackie doesn't like people when they snort. But it was my sleepy time. Anyway, I don't know. But like,
yeah. Well, Fallon did ask him like about his propensity for saying shocking things. And Trump's like, I'm trying not to anymore. He's definitely trying to make an effort.
I don't believe that. I think that his team is trying to make an effort.
But I think he's trying to make an effort to appear different as well if he wants to win, because he's going to have to.
See, I disagree with that. I think his team is trying to. You can always tell when he's reading from the script, when his people take over his Twitter handle versus when he goes rogue. They're different. When he reads from the teleprompter, he's one guy. When he goes off, like the other day, he was talking about his economic plan and he held up a piece of poster board with Sharpie written on it, and he kept looking at the poster board. Is like, yeah, this is my economic. Who likes posters? And he was flipping it to the audience like, nobody likes poster boards. And then he went back and he's looking, and there's a chart for his economic plan, and it was like flipping it around like it was like show and tell in kindergarten.
I just imagined him like one of those guys on the side of the street who want you to go to their yogurt shop, and they're like spinning the arrow and flipping the board.
Like when he went off script, he was like looking at this. What is this thing that I'm holding that it's supposed to be my economic plan? And then he, it was just so
way to lead.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started.
What are we going to have to talk about when, the election is over?
I don't think conversation's going to stop regardless of who we get into office. I think there will be plenty of things until
I just don't remember
eternity.
it being so contentious when we were growing up. Like I don't, and maybe we were just naive or, ignorant to it, but like, I don't remember adults just, I mean, I think social media, but like having so much hatred for each other because of their political beliefs.
Well, I don't know that I think we were probably immune to it, but a little plug for CNN. I've been watching these the series on CNN called Road to the White House, or I think it's Road to the White House or Road to White House, and it goes back and it shows the time in our history of different political campaigns and what society was like and what the news was like and all the controversy and really just it's been really fascinating for me because I wasn't savvy to anything when I was younger and I didn't know. But I think there was a lot of dissension among people in terms of what their political beliefs were, but we just didn't talk about it then. There were things you didn't talk about. You didn't talk about politics, money. You never talked about cancer. Like I think now we talk about everything ad nauseum, and it has to be regurgitated 100 million times, and then we still can't come to any term of civility on it. So I don't know. I think it's always been this way. It's just the way that we now divulge it.
Right. Well, if you are listening to Broadscast for the first time, welcome. We've got some new listeners lately with some new stations and things changing and constantly growing. I'm doing like a funny little dance right now.
We're moving.
We're moving. What's that? I don't know. Anyway, we're in the zone. We're grooving. What was that from?
I don't
Remember
know.
that? Oh, it was Rachel on Friends. See, we always go back to Friends.
What was that?
It was like a little cheer she did. I'm going to have to show you that offline.
I'm hearing the little guy from Madagascar. You got to move it, move it. You know what I mean?
But I'm very excited for all the things that are happening. And, check out our Facebook page. We had some new photos done by the incomparable Renee Bowen and magician / makeup artist Jamie Cox.
Yeah, we look totally different in real life.
I always say I look amazing with makeup in Photoshop. No. But we are very appreciative to them. And, check us out on Facebook, Broadscast, Twitter, Broadscast.
Yes, Jackie, we got it. Jackie found our Broadscast handle after 5 years of trying to track it down. So
5 years ago, I created a Broadscast handle.
I remember we were together.
Yes.
We talked about this.
And then I forgot the password and the email. And so I actually did a workaround. 5 years later, it suddenly, the light bulb. That's how long it took the light bulb to go off in my head. And I was able to secure
You went LED. That's what happened. You just went LED, people.
Right. It was during all the transition. So I was able to secure that back. So all the social media channels are at Broadscast.
Yay.
So definitely check us out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to talk about, because the show is absolutely nothing without you. So we will talk to you next time.
You are listening to Broadscast. For more from the Broads, head to broadscast.com.